In my last video, I showed you that I just bought Bitwig because I want to transition from my Cubase workflow to a Bitwig workflow. In this video, I will just use Bitwig and make music, and it will probably be very bad music and also a very bad usage of Bitwig. But I don't know, I just want to document it. If you are a Bitwig developer, then just stay here and you will learn something about my very first steps in your software, and maybe you can get ideas about it. If you are another producer who likes Bitwig, then you should probably run away, because I will use Bitwig in a way that is worse than your ways. But if you stay, then please feel free and tell me what I'm doing bad and how I can do it better and what I'm missing and stuff like that. If you are watching as a Cubase fan who was also thinking about switching to Bitwig, but you are afraid of doing so because you have learned Cubase for so many years that you think you cannot learn another DAW, then also just stay here, and maybe you will get surprised, maybe not, who knows. I already started a little bit of something. I only have it since today and I already made this. Okay, so we are not starting completely from scratch here. What I already have in here is a little bit of chow kick. And I tried one of the built-in effects of Bitwig, which is bit 8, some sort of thing between a bit crusher and downsampler and some other lo-fi-ish digital stuff. It has quite a bunch of very weird controls that I will not go into because I currently have a sound that I like pretty much. Then we have this acid jazz loop, acid jazz, because it's actually a very cheap sounding drum loop. I made this because I wanted to check out this feature from Bitwig where you can put something into the feedback loop. And I decided to put into the feedback loop the kilohertz flanger and disperser. And then I used the feature from Bitwig to add modulators to each effect that modulate the parameters to do that with disperser and some of the parameters in the flanger. That sounds pretty cool to me. And then there is also a little bit of compression at the end. Notice that I am using not the full visualization in Pro C2, because when I did that, then unfortunately the graphics were a little bit laggy. So apparently Bitwig has some trouble drawing very complicated stuff sometimes, which is sad. Something that I never had experienced before with Cubase. So I guess when you're used to a DAW, then you only see the bad sides. Now that I'm using another DAW, I finally see that the DAW that I was using was actually doing something really good. Something that you take for granted if it was never bad, So if you're Bitwig developer watching, please improve on the repaint stuff, and if you are a FabFilter developer watching, please also try to improve the drawing. I could, for example, imagine a feature to make the interface even smaller but with the same visualizations, so that I don't have to do this, because I like the visualizations of the gain reduction curve. They are very helpful. Organ. Now this is something that I saw in a Bitwig tutorial. The organ plugin is an additive synthesizer where you can add the partials yourself. And in this little tutorial video, they used the ADSR modulator to let these partials, to let some of them move a little bit. And I'm doing that as well. Oh, right, that's the organ sound. Actually, let's use it for all of them and instead make it some sort of bell thingy. Now, as you can see, I'm already getting the hang of the workflow where you input the modulators and then you press this thing to modulate things, and then you press it again to go away from the modulation mode again. This is the built-in distortion tool of Bitwig. It's kind of weird. It's distorting very hard, and I'm definitely missing auto gain in this, or I just don't see it yet. But I wish there was some auto gain. What is this? Wet FX. I can put something only on the wet partial of the signal before mixing it with dry. That's cool, I guess. Don't need that now. So the thing is, I tried the key track modulator for this thing because my notes, I wanted the distortion to hit a little bit harder and on a different frequency when the notes are higher. And now that I have a little bit more of a bell sound, let's just add a reverb. Now I wish there was a little bit more of a high-endish sound in this thing. And now I'm wondering if there is a way to multiband split a thing in Bitwig. And I think probably there is, because this is Bitwig. So how would I go about that if I were Bitwig? That's the question, you know, and since this is not my main DAW yet, I mean it is, but not the one that I know the best, I can just guess. So my guess is that there are Bitwig specific devices, maybe? No? Okay, so maybe my guess is that there is utility. Tool? No. That there is routing. No. That there is filtering. No. Container. Chain. Multiband. Yeah. So now I have multiband. And I can... Oh, actually, did I want multiband? No. I was confused. Let's get rid of this again. What I actually wanted to have is... No, again, Bitwig. Container. I wanted the parallel layer, yeah. So will I use chain now or FX? Let's see. Generic audio container for making effects. Container for parallel audio chains. Yeah, that's perfect. I should switch the DAW to English so that everyone can read it. But I did not do that now. So we have a layer. Can we give it a name? I cannot rename it. That is unfortunate, but at least I can give it a color. And how can I? Okay. Now that I have two layers, I can put an effect on one layer. Now I need an effect that sort of adds a lot of high end so that I can make cool stuff with this organ sound that is still very low. Specifically, I would like there to be some sort of frequency shifter or something. Why not just look if Bitwig already has something for me? I do have to say I have the cheaper version of Bitwig, so I wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't something for my needs now. But maybe there is. Frequency shifter, that sounds nice. Let's take it. So this parallel layer now needs to be addressed. Okay, nice, but I want this to be to come before the reverb, definitely. Boom. Now how do I turn this down in volume? With this thing maybe? No, that's the output gain in general. So what is the individual output gain of this thing? Or do I have to use another plugin for that? Do we have a gain plugin? Just gain, nothing else? Gain? I mean, I could use kilohertz gain, I guess. KHS gain, which is obviously not part of Bitwig. Wait, that's weird. I do have kilohertz stuff installed. Gain. Okay, for some reason I only have Bouquet Audio gain installed, not kilohertz gain, but that's the same anyway. That sounds kind of cool, but I don't want to use it now because it also, I wish for something that reacts a little bit more to the different sounds that I have in this sound, in this synthi sound. So let's try the pitch shifter instead. I really like the browser. It's a good browser. Wondering now how it would be if we had an envelope follower on this thing. Thing is, I don't know which one of these is supposed to be an envelope follower. Envelope ramp, maybe? No. Ramp's just ramping up for some reason and then that's it. I don't know what this thing actually does. Okay, let's go through all of them and read the tooltips. This is an envelope generator. This is also an envelope generator. And the audio signal is used with optional filters. This might be the envelope follower. Let's try this. Yeah, I think it is. Now the problem is that this is way too grainy. We need to have more smoothness in this thing. Now what is this? What kind of parameter is that? That's the volume, the input volume. Okay. Rise, fall. Maybe I can smooth it by doing this, and RMS. Yeah. That's pretty cool. Because obviously when I'm using an envelope follower, then I'm internally comparing it with a plugin that I made myself. And just to give you a little comparison now, let's just import it here and check out the envelope follower in my plugin. And the cool thing is I see a lot of similarities, like this rise and fall parameters, which are basically what I have as attack and release. They work in a very similar way, that they are giving you a lot of stuff about these finer grains, like 20 milliseconds and stuff, but everything that comes then is getting very high and very far away from 20 milliseconds. You can go up to 2000 milliseconds here, and in this plugin you can go up to 1 whole second. I would suggest to the Bitwig team to also turn up the envelope follower size on attack and release to something higher than 1 second. Because obviously I'm already maxing this thing out now, even though I would like to go even softer on this thing in some cases. I think it's okay for now, this sounds cool, but you know, there is room for more, definitely. And it's all about how you skew your parameters. But there is also something that I really like about this envelope follower that I don't have in mine, and you can probably already guess it is the filter. And in this case it makes something really cool, because my melody has some very low frequencies at the beginning, this dong, and then it's going on with da da da. So on this deep dong sound there is no modulation now, because I'm using this filter. But only on the higher notes you get a lot of envelope follower modulation now, which is cool because it adds an interesting dynamic to this sound, and that's pretty cool. Also that you can change between peak and RMS mode. My envelope follower is peak, but I think if you turn up attack and release enough, then every envelope follower can become something like an RMS behavior, more or less. At least I think that this thing sounds really cool, but I really like how they did it as well. Now let's get rid of my plugin again, because I don't need it now. Where did I put it? Ah, here it is. Yeah, just clicking on it. Remove. Let's go. See, now that I have this parallel chain, it's a much more interesting sound than without. Yeah, I think that might even be good enough, enough of a reason to turn down the reverb a little bit. Or actually, not really. Still important. I really like the dynamics of this thing. I don't want to crush it too much. I'm not too much of a fan of the bass line that I came up with, but I'm not very good at bass lines anyway. So I'm not mad for now. I think I have to put a limiter on the master bus, so that I'm not clipping inside of OBS. I probably did that already a lot, so sorry about that. I don't have my default settings in Bitwig yet, and I don't see any thing here that would let me define default settings for every plugin. If a plugin comes with a feature to have default settings, then that's cool, but in Cubase you could make or set a default state for every plugin from Cubase, so that the plugin does not need to provide this feature. And yeah, that's something that I would like to have in Bitwig as well, but yeah. Okay, just making sure that the sound is still coming through. Great. Now, one thing that I want to try now is sidechain compression, because the speed is already at the point where it's kind of getting annoying how much the kick is getting becoming more and more into the foreground by all these elements. So actually, this also makes me wonder about group tracks, because usually I would probably group a lot of these things and then put a sidechain compressor there. So if I was a group in Bitwig, I would probably be a track without anything, and then I would be the fact that things, oh no, if I don't select something, then the track's getting deleted again. So that's not how to group things. Maybe then I would be selecting things, clicking right, and then group. Yep, that's how it's done. Cool. And the group is also a folder, which makes a lot of sense. In Cubase, groups and folders are two separate things, and it does make a lot of sense that it's the same thing here. Now this is the sidechainable group, because this group will sidechain the thing. Now let's try the Bitwig compressor, because I really want to know what Bitwig already gives me. Even though I do have my favorite compressor in here already. But you know, testing a new DAW, why not? Now, let's just see how it sounds already without sidechaining, and just for fun. Now, interestingly, there are two methods to go about this here, which is interesting, because usually a compressor is either built in a way that you have to drive the input to get it to compress, or that you have to turn down threshold. But in this compressor, you apparently can choose if you would rather drive the input or turn down threshold. That was just confusing a little bit, because I do like thresholds more, I think. Let's just use threshold. Now, of course, that's the most crunchy setting that you can make, but I just wanted to see how far I can go. That sounds kind of weird, and I know why. It's because the bass line, when it stops being in the signal, then the signal drops in volume massively, and the compressor stops working, and then there are these weird pumping effects. But I do like the drive of the compressor, and if this group did not include the bass, I think I could do something with it. Or actually, if it was only on one sound. So let's just pretend like this is not a group and this is just the organ sound. Or actually, let's pretend this is the drum sound, because compressors on drums are always so nice. Do you hear that? When I turn down the release, I get a very nice effect of proximity. And if I turn it up, then it gets more distant, just like it should be in a compressor. Well, enough of that. Now let's try the side chaining. So for side chaining, I will probably have to put the threshold down a lot. Don't use a lot of attack, just use a little bit of release. And then of course have to make sure that it's actually the sidechain input. So let us use the audio sidechain. And now as a sidechain input, we use chow kick, post effects, and then also only the high end. And it does not work. And I think the reason for that is because the compressor does not ask me what should be the envelope follower. Rather, I have an envelope follower and it just does nothing. I'm confused. I'm a little bit confused because I would like to use a compressor that has a ratio and not just an envelope follower per se. So, not sure what this means now for me as someone who wants to use a compressor. So let's try something different. Now let's actually go with a compressor that I usually use. Now this has a sidechain input, external input, so I can map the input there. Now I'm wondering if I have just not seen the symbol on the built-in compressor and it was actually there. No, there was no sidechain symbol on this thing. Very weird. But anyway. Sidechain compressing the bass did not save it from sucking ass. But anyway, I did manage to figure out how to sidechain stuff in Bitwig. And I think there would even be an alternative solution for that, if I'm getting it right, because I could also imagine just using any gain plugin, just like before where I had, I do have kilohertz gain in here. Let's say I have kilohertz gain and I'm attaching the audio sidechain thingy to it, and then I'm using the chow kick output with some filter. Then this should also give me sidechaining when I'm attaching that. Wait, how do I do that? The more, the more envelope flow I have, the less gain I have. Just don't know how deep I should go. Obviously, I cannot go as hard with this plugin when it comes to sidechaining than with Pro C2, because when a developer releases a gain plugin, then they usually do that by in a way that the gain changes are smoothened, so that there is no crackles and stuff. But when you're making a sidechain effect, then you probably want to go very hard with the volume modulations, and you don't care so much about crackles, so that just does not fit so well. Going back to Pro CISO. Now I can turn on oversampling and look ahead even, so I can get back some attack. Okay, that's good. I just wanted to know if Bitwig has proper latency compensation. I could also find out another way by just attaching maybe just by using Serum. Not Serum, but Soothe, actually. Because Soothe has a lot of latency, and if I were in FL Studio now, then this would suck a lot. So now let's just try if it sucks on this drum loop. Alright, so far so good. I can make melodies. I can work with audio a little bit, even though I have not tried the extended audio editing features like workflows about shuffling or chopping it up and, you know, rearranging samples. I have not done that a lot yet. So it's a very conservative way of working with the stuff, except some details, like I already checked out the feature in Bitwig, which only works with the internal stuff of Bitwig, I guess, where you can polyphonically add pitch bends rather than just to the whole MIDI file. Now you cannot hear that because after I made this melody, I decided that this sound is not an organ but a bell-shaped thing now, so you cannot hear the end of the notes, but they were pitch bends and they sounded quite cool. So that's definitely a feature that I will use more in the future. And that's funny because I'm very self-aware and I'm already imagining in my head how everyone will judge me on that, because I mean Bitwig dudes, because that's probably the first thing everyone does. And I bet when you go into the Bitwig community and show them your Bitwig tracks and they have these pitch bends everywhere, then everyone immediately thinks that you're a beginner, because everyone just wants to jump on the cool new features. But anyway, I want to embrace it anyway because it's cool. It really deserves to have this little attention. And yeah, I don't know what else is to say. As I said in the beginning of this video, this beat is not like the best beat of all time, not even close. It's just a very cautious attempt to learn Bitwig, and I need to learn a lot more about it. Watch a bunch of tutorials. But I did not look at a lot of tutorials yet, and I was already able to do a lot of things in here. So that only speaks for the workflow of Bitwig, and I can only say that this is great work, all in all.